Today we get to start working on our chassis number 3333 Z32 peeking on us. I guess you guys can't see it too well because of the glare of the sun. But here we have a super white 1990 300ZX. And yes, as I stated in the beginning, it is the quadruple 3 chassis. So last video that we worked on this car, we actually pulled the motor out and got, all the room and idea of what's going on with this chassis. You can see the power steering pump has been leaking about all of its life. And it appears we've got some rust up here that needs to be taken care of. Not really the best spots, but it happens on these Zs. So since we pulled the engine out, we actually haven't recorded anything other than just yanking it out. So since then, we've got it up on the stand. Here we've pulled off our clutch, which turns out we have a brand new exity clutch, and also a pretty worn out NA flywheel. Someone like me would just throw that thing back on with a clutch and send it, because who cares? It's nothing for me to change a clutch. However, now we get to tear this engine down today, and we get to start getting an idea of the condition of it. So we're going to pull our valve covers, our plenum, strip everything down, also our oil pan, because just like all of this, the valve covers leaked horrendously before, so we've got to clean up all that residue, replace pretty much all of our gaskets, and we don't actually have to mess with timing, thankfully. It was timed previously, and as long as the cam seals are all installed correctly, we're not going to be messing with that. So in theory, this should be pretty straightforward, and I really hope it is. The biggest deterrent here is this engine actually had stop leak used in it, as you can see in there. So it is pretty disgusting on the inside. Tools all laid out. Let's get to work. I think what we'll start with is we'll just pull the plenum here. Let us get a little bit of access to some stuff. I do want to take all of these hoses off so I can switch out all these worm gear clamps for some spring clamps, because I've got the mother load back here. Perks of parking cars out, you got all kinds of backup stuff, so that's a relief for sure. I totally forgot that I had all these loose already. How convenient. So this thing absolutely reeks like gas. So that's definitely telling me we probably had some stuck open injectors here, or the smell's transferring from our lower intake. Wow, that one's pretty gross looking. That one actually appears to be the cylinder that wasn't firing, so I really hope the motor's not bad or something and we just didn't compression test, and maybe it's got a dead cylinder from it being down for so long. Almost like new now. Oh, that's actually a pretty nice clutch fan. I think he may have replaced it. This thing looks pretty new. Ooh, coolant temp sensor is actually original and red. That needs done ASAP. Just a little tip here, if your sensor plastic is red, get it replaced with a blue plastic one. Nissan's made them in blue for a while, so if yours isn't blue, yours likely hasn't been changed for a while. And that's a pretty crucial sensor for the function of the engine as well. Look at the inside of that water pump pulley. Yikes. Now this is where it's going to get gross, because we're going to take this thermostat pipe off, drain some of this coolant out, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of room to get the worm gear clamp that they put on this, because yeah, you're supposed to use spring clamps here and they didn't really put it in a friendly position. Let's see what we're looking like. The forbidden chocolate milk. Well, we're just going to let that drain while it, slow drains. That way we don't have a whole bunch of unnecessary splash damage down here. Didn't want to exclude you guys for the money shot of whatever we're hiding underneath this, since we're almost to getting these off. So let's pull both of these off and let's get to pulling our water pump. Chocolate milk. Ooh, that's normally sticky. Yeah, he told me I actually forgot to tighten this cam gear down, so he had to poke a hole in it right here. So he could tighten it down and, not have to take all this apart, because yeah, that is one annoying thing about the VG. Finally time. Oh, I guess I didn't even need to take that off. See if my dead battery will do it. Nice. So here I go to hook up my steering wheel type puller, pull this crank pulley off, and check it out. Apparently I don't need one. Now I really hope that hasn't walked. Ooh, Yikes. Glad we seen that ahead of time. Your collar here on your crank pulley should not be cracked like that. It's going to cause it to wobble. That's indefinitely why we could actually pull this thing off. So while it had its pluses, that means we're out a crank pulley and we're actually running really low on those. So hopefully we have one. As I get these 3-4 timing cover bolts out, go figure, they didn't put the other ones in. Can't say I don't blame them. Especially with the engine in the car, these can be pretty difficult to even see where they're at. I'm really trying not to get all gross and nasty here, but it's pretty inevitable. Man, this coolant is so old and stinky. It's about to make me sick. Can't say I've ever had something like that happen before. I don't really know if that's old coolant or maybe that's the stop leak I'm smelling. But yeah, it's pretty brutal. Hopefully the impact will do them all. Ooh, yeah, this thing wasn't sealed very well. As soon as I'm loosening it up, it's starting to leak out. There we go. 4 timing belt. Okay, what's it gonna look like? Honestly, that's not bad at all. Wow. I'm pleasantly surprised here. Yeah, there's definitely some rust, but it doesn't appear to, you know, like the block's all rusted out or anything. That is excellent news. Oh, that's so relieving. I was really stressed out that this whole thing was going to be toast. Now, I will say that tensioner doesn't look right. We may need to spin it forward and double check that one. There's some stop leak. I think we're just going to like pull off our AC compressor, power steering pump, alternator, all that stuff to, you know, kind of make the engine a little bit lighter, or we can flip it upside down, maneuver a little bit better. So let's do that real quick. So we got the majority of everything off now. This alternator's pretty seized on here. Hit it with PB Blaster, but I actually just cannot get the bolt to go out at all. I can get it to spin, but that's not enough to break it free. So I think what we're gonna have to do so we can actually get something on the end of that to hammer it out, is we're gonna pull these exhaust manifolds off. And in turn, we're actually gonna look for other exhaust manifolds that we can put on here, considering we have these broken bolt issues here. I'm really wanting to just be able to bolt this up. If not, I mean, if it comes down to it, I'm gonna have to buy a new drill bit set and have to drill all these out, and I'm really not wanting to do that. That'll take a tremendous amount of time that I don't want to, you know, have to do. I guess we can actually come back here and pull these heater pipes off and our EGR, because we don't need this EGR where we're going. He also ended up cutting the wrong one over here, but he actually has the EGR coming up here to the PCV when the PCV is actually right here. So we're gonna fix that. That means we gotta kind of trash that right there. Get the hard pipe out, just peel it backwards, twist it backwards, pull. Oh, I guess it's this hose. There we go. Yummy. I did just kind of realize something just now. Kind of bummed. I don't think we're going to be able to get this all finished up to get in the car. Not this video, at least. We may just get the engine done, because I actually need to get a sub harness for this knock sensor. I mean, yeah, I guess if it works now, we can just send it, but if this engine's this rusty, I guarantee you that thing is super corroded. I guess I'll have to think about that, if I just want to have to deal with that problem when it comes to have to pull it out, or just send it and have a car that we can drive around and, you know, actually utilize. Jump. Jump. Whoa, look at that. That's like 10 bucks right there. Brand new. Shoot, I'll take that. Odds are this isn't going to be coming off until we get our exhaust manifold off. Because I can never get these things like actually off. I always got to break them or cut them. I guess now we can start pulling these exhaust manifolds off. Oh, it's so nice. Except when the stud comes. So I always recommend pulling your engine mounts here. Just gives you that little bit extra access, because you're going to have 2 bolts on each side at the bottom that you're going to have to get with a wrench. And they're not fun. And you're going to get greasy. So have fun. There we go. There's the big one. And the easy one. None of them look wet. Mainly what I'm looking for here. That one definitely does, because that was the one we was having issues with. So once we fix that fuel injector, all will be good. Hopefully. I think now we're gonna start draining the oil pan so we can flip this thing upside down and begin to remove the oil pan. Ooh, oil drain plug is already loose. Super sus. Nothing on my fingers, but super dirty looking oil. But just taking a visual here, you see I try to get the filter off. It's super tight, but there's all kinds of grime. That means our power steering was either leaking very heavily or we had a serious oil leak, which I know for a fact that we did. You can see all the residual around here, how dark and grimy it is here on the side. Unfortunately, I didn't grab any brake cleaner. I didn't get to run to the store last night, so I'm hoping I can get some tonight to be able to shine this up the rest of the way. But yeah, this thing is super grimy, especially back here. And I thought we were going to get away with not resealing these valve covers on the exhaust side. Unfortunately, we need to do it. It appears there's a leak over here. Yeah, it's still a little wet and it doesn't really look like it stuck that well. Again, I apologize about the fan. It's getting really warm and humid once again. Well, the damage is done. We got all kinds of brown poop water here on the ground. Look at that. Tasty. Now I gotta smell like rusty ethylene glycol. My favorite. Now let's remove our oil pan bolts. Since this is all red RTB, I have a feeling it's not going to be stuck very good, as you can tell. That right there just popped the whole pan. Exactly what I was afraid of. I think the oil tree is going to have to come off. I know I've bent this bracket out the way really badly before. Let's just see if we can get this off. Oh, thank goodness. I literally about hurt myself taking that thing off. I'm so happy I managed to get it. Of all the oil filler sockets I have, I don't have the stock size. I know, dumb. And I think we will be able to pull this out enough because it's not hitting the filter anymore. And we're going to loosen this other bolt just a bit. Got enough room now. Should be able to pull it off. I don't have an oil tree gasket, so I'm just trying to avoid that. Wow, what is that? Once again, here's an oil dipstick, and I have a feeling I know exactly what happened. Because if you see right here, it's got orange gasket all over it, red. There is another dipstick. This portion was floating around in the bottom end. But now we actually have to flip it back over, drop it out, because there is another one in here. Yeah, I know. I don't know if you guys heard that, but when I pulled the pan off, part of it fell down into the block. So we now have wiped up all the debris that fell off the pan on any of the rods or any of that. There may be a little debris in the motor. You really want to avoid that at all costs. However, sometimes you really can't help it. If you can, rinse it out or get some way to reach down there and pick it up. But we've got probably 90% of it already. So now we've got us a good razor blade. So just clean up your mating surface while ensuring you don't drop anything into the block. Now, unfortunately, I think we're going to have to make this wait a little bit. The reason being, we're actually going to take this oil tree off. I can't really clean this up as nice as I want, and plus, this will give us just more room and more things to say that we've done and can feel better about. So let's just do it right the first time. We'll order a gasket and we'll get it taken care of. Pry it a little bit to get it started. It is in here with an O-ring, so once you get that mixed with the seal cracked, it'll come off. There we go. We can reuse that gasket. Now we can take this gusset plate off and continue with my least favorite job. So this actually is a lot easier if you can keep something inside of your oil pan while you clean the outside with a wire wheel. You are going to remove the paint or coating, but it makes cleaning the pan a total breeze. compared to doing it all with a knife and your fingernails. That is terrible. Well, I was really hoping we could avoid this one, but I'm actually just gonna wash the whole inside of the pan out. We actually had some flaking paint. I had to hit a couple dents in the pan out and some of the paint's flaking, so I'm gonna wash that out, try to degrease it a little bit. Maybe put an extra coat over it, I don't know. At least try to just get all the loose stuff off and try to just keep it from, you know, spreading. Let's finish this up and rinse her out. Here's our pan all cleaned up. We're actually ready to start the RTV process. I'm afraid I'm almost out, and I'm really trying to make this tube work. If not, I think I'm screwed. I guess I could look. I think last time I did order 2 of these, so maybe we'll be lucky. And all of a sudden, I feel 10 times better. We've got a spare tube to go. Now, you gotta make sure your block surface is equally as clean. And I like to just wipe this until none of this comes off anymore. I actually cut our opening a little bit smaller, so hopefully we don't have to put such a thick bead out. And then smear a little bit down here into your seal so it contacts here in each of your corners. Alright, let's finish this up and get where we can put it on the car. All sealed up now. Go ahead and put some RTV on your seals here just to make sure there's no leak, and let's start installing everything. Sorry, it's a little dark in here, I know. Gotta close up the doors for a little bit. Well, there's some mowing going on because we don't need all of that in here with us. Let's be honest. Dude, what? Why is it so short? Oh, this is about to turn into a nightmare after I get all my RTV set. Go freaking figure. What do I do? Now, do I recommend this? Not at all, but we just had to do it. I'm not gonna lie. We had to reuse the old seal. It was still somewhat pliable and wasn't super hard, so I'm a little confident that it's actually going to make, you know, the next 2 to 5 years and not leak, you know, until I potentially turbo swap. Who knows what we're going to do with this thing, but yeah, let's get the pan on. We've already waited way too long for this. Best way to sit it on is just look it through your bolt holes through the oil pan, line them up. Wow, you guys really can't see anything back here. But just line up your bolt holes here with all of your threads, then give it a little push down to kind of squish it and set all of it. Now let's get all of our hardware, finger tighten it, let it wait 5 minutes, and we'll snug it up. Once you get your first one started up, it makes every other one easier to line up after that. And I like to snug every other one up in order, just to kind of spread the load. Snug them up with the ratchet before we tighten them our final time. When we come back for our final torque, we honestly just tighten it till it quits tight. We don't torque it very hard, we just torque it till it stops. These are super small bolts, very easy to snap, so just keep that in mind. Now we wait 10 to 45 minutes max. We can flip it back over. It should all be sealed up and we should be good to go. Let's actually run our dipstick up to make sure we have room. And if we don't, let's see if we cleared room. Nope, looks like we got room for the dipstick. Nice. Not making the same mistake the previous people did. Biggest thing I can say about this job is to pull this before you do any of that, because that is why that dipstick was broken in the bottom. But honestly, leave it to Z1 Motorsports to mess this up. They honestly give me the hardest time of all the parts suppliers. I could say something to them like, hey, you guys sent me the wrong part, or that it's a defective part, and they would make me out to be the bad guy. I don't know. They're just not the best people to work with, so CZP when you can. So it's actually the next day. We were able to go get some brake cleaner last night, and we got started off first thing here today by spraying this down with some primer, and we coated it with some engine enamel to just kind of bring some shine back to it and make it look much more presentable. Because this thing was like the worst pan that I've ever seen, if you guys remember before. Also, check out what the forbidden soup's been doing while the fan's been running. It's actually, the wind is causing it to swirl. Last night it was like a smiley face, like 2 dots and a big O. Now it's like doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But we actually just spent the rest of this morning. We cleaned up all this with the wire wheel to get that prepped so we can just RTV that right away, as well as getting it cleaned out. We also went and cleaned up all of our exhaust ports, and we even shined up and degreased the head here on the sides and on the back. So we're really just trying to bring this thing back and give it a little bit more pop, because this thing was super crusty, like it's been sitting with the Titanic. And as nasty and scaly as all that was, we wire brushed some of it off. I'm actually not going to coat the block. That's going to entail a lot of wire brushing, brake cleaning, and degreasing. Don't want to do that when I just got everything else cleaned up, and I can't go crazy with the brake fluid because I can't ruin this valve cover paint. Now let's flip this thing back over, finally get it straight up again, and we can start pulling some valve covers and seeing how the rest of this motor looks. I guess this is our last spot to clean up with RTV. Oops, forgot one. Looks like we still have a little bit of juice in there. It's probably best we start to pull these spark plug covers off, or at least the spark plug tube seals. And I'm about 99% sure we're gonna have oil in here. Oh yeah, soaked. Definitely got some oil in here. Now this one isn't from the leak. This is from flipping the engine upside down, and all that oil from the oil tree ran up and in here and just made an absolute mess. I wonder if this one's greasy. Nope, we're all clean down here. Yeah, our seals look pretty clapped too. And things are trash. Oh, not the dress up kit. I hate these things. If you have these, be careful on your intakes. Usually they're shouldered bolts, and if you tighten them too tight, you'll actually crack your valve covers. Alrighty. Hey, not bad at all. I'm very happy to see that, to be honest. That's a dub. Let's wipe up all this oil residual, and we may just slap a dab of RTV back here on the corners, in the front and back, before we put this back on, because there's no reason to keep it off and allow contaminants into our head. I totally forgot. We can't seal all this back up because we actually are going to reseal these VTCs. We really want to clean them gross dudes up too. The engine's been upside down. It should have had fluids pooling here. I really can't tell. It almost looks wet right here, but it almost just looks like that because what was there previously. Yeah, this is the only bit of oil that I'm even seeing, and that had to have spilled over the valve cover because it's all nasty in here. So I don't know. I think we're just gonna send this. I really don't want to take them off if I don't have to. I know this engine's gonna have to come out again at some point. Honestly, in the next 5 years, if this lasts me, I mean, it's ran for how long? It's had idle time. I still don't see anything seeping out, so it may be still good enough. Yeah, that wasn't redone. That came off way too easy. Now to clean up your VTCs, all you need is a wire brush, some brake cleaner, and your fingernail. That should be enough to scrape it all off. But first, let's soak them. Other than the rear caps, these things will come out looking brand new. Like that. They're pretty much brand new. Got the shine back to them. This one's a little cruddy in comparison. But we should actually be ready to torque these down. Now I can't remember the torque spec for these either. It's going to be about the same as your oil pan bolts. It's in inch pounds instead of foot pounds. So I just do it until it's tight because it really doesn't need that much. That's it. And there's number 2. VTCs are sealed up. Now we can actually throw on our valve covers. If I'd quit blocking the light. I don't think I'm going to use the dress up kit. I'm actually going to put some stock ones on because I know I've got a baggie of them somewhere. Why can't we just go ahead and sit it on? Let's go grab some hardware to put in here, and then I guess we can start cleaning up our spark plug tubes. It's the next morning, and we actually got these cleaned up, installed some new spark plug tube seals, and we actually got our valve covers all torqued and tightened down. Sorry about the light, I know. And it did just come to my attention. Turns out my GoPro lens is actually damaged. So found out I can actually replace it online, or at least my lens cover. So it's only 20 bucks. I noticed it earlier when I turned it on. You see that like purple haze or whatever floating over me? Yeah, I just cleaned this lens. It's the cleanest it's ever been, and it's still doing that. Whatever, no big deal. I'm happy it's replaceable. I've honestly not even checked the plugs on this thing. Should I check them? Probably. Am I? Probably not. Before we put this all on though, let's actually just wipe all this crud off. Now, I actually found something on an old motor of mine, a brand new gasket that had probably 5 miles on it. So we're actually going to reuse this. I guess we need to wipe this down first. Spray. Just make sure we get all the grease and whatnot off. I already cleaned the block side. I cleaned up the tree as much as we could. This one had a lot of oil cooked on it. So now let's go find our hardware, or at least what we did with it. And we got one started to line it up. We can begin to just put the rest. I'm about 99% sure torque to this is probably 12 foot-pounds, like every other 12 mil on this block. And I totally forgot to mention, we threw our alternator on, we partially cleaned it up, just to kind of eliminate one extra thing. I do still need to clean the bracket for the power steering, and we can put that on, as well as our engine mounts. But we need to let some of that soak in some solution, because this stuff is incredibly greasy. I've spent probably 8 hours total overall just cleaning stuff on this. I guess next we're going to take our water pump, get all of our pipes and stuff cleaned up, get all of our RTV surfaces ready, and we're going to RTV everything up and get the last of this stuff resealed. But you got to start with the water pump, because you got to put it on to put the timing cover on, and then you got to be able to put your water pipes on after your timing cover. So you got to get all this situated. Never got a bead like this, just bringing it straight out the tube. Ready to go, but first let's put our hardware in. 1 bolt started, 2 bolts started, and you can just start threading them all in and get her finger tight. Now with her finger tight, let's wait an hour to torque it down. But in that time, let's go find a lower cover and we can start to put that on. Honestly, this is going to be pretty boring. It's going to be a lot of cleaning. Got to get it prepped and presentable. I actually really like how this lower cover turned out. We actually ended up doing a undercoating on it, or like a tough like Raptor liner. I'm really pleased with that. We went ahead and marked our 15 degrees on our timing cover as well. Always remember to do that. We're currently waiting on these 2 pipes to cure, so that way we can actually torque them down. There's a really limited room right here, so you actually can't torque these down with the hoses on them. You have to wait until it gets all set up, and then you can put them on. Water pump's done. We actually have just loose fit some engine mounts. I'm not even going to clean those up. It's not worth it. No one's ever going to see them things, and I really don't care. Let's take our new oil filter. Let's slap that on so we can seal up this here. We actually did put a new, the crush washer there on our drain fitting, or drain plug as well. Don't over tighten these things, guys. We cleaned up this bracket here for the power steering, which is right here. I guess I can go ahead and slap this on. But we do have some hardware for one of our gusset plates being painted, and for this power steering bracket right here. We went ahead, wire wheeled that, degreased it, and hit it with that same engine enamel stuff that we used on our oil pan. I was really happy with how it came out, and I'm about to start using that all the time on like cast iron or just steel components like this, because look how this turned out. That is incredible. Now I understand the proper use for certain types of paint. We actually replaced these injector seals up here, and look how cruddy these things are. Holy cow. I'd almost bet these are original to the car. Never have I ever seen something like that. But now they're all fresh and new, just waiting for the correct fuel rail and fuel injectors. Still don't know what we're doing about that, so we still have to figure that out. Well, you guys, unfortunately it's the next day, and I'm gonna have to say I don't think we're gonna get much farther past this point. The reason being is we don't have exhaust manifolds to finish this off, so we can get the manifolds on, put the engine mounts or brackets, and then the mounts themselves, We also don't have a crank pulley right now. I need to go do some serious soul searching for that one, because I don't know, these things are getting really hard to find nowadays. At least everything's all together now with the exception of our front water pipes, which we also have to find another one, or we have to really soak the ones that we have because of all that buildup and caked in stop leak and rust. Trying to clean this motor out. I don't want to keep flushing all this stuff around. I mean, I know there's already going to be some of this stuff in the system. Like you can see, there's rust residual, whatnot. But we can always put something in here to mitigate that, knock it all down, and then flush it out a few times. So far, everything's pretty much all sealed up. We just have our exhaust manifolds, engine mount combo, fuel rail, and then we have these hard pipes here on the back. I also, while we're here, I really want to get another knock sensor, at least the sub harness. I'm not very comfortable with reusing that. That's one of the musts in my book when you got the motor out. It's one of the most annoying things to reach. We also didn't get to the rear main seal. That's still sitting over here on the bench. So those will be the first things that we tackle next video. Hopefully then we can actually install it in the car as well. We can get those couple things cleaned up on the body. We can get this thing rolling. But that's it. Sorry, I could talk all day. Sorry we didn't get everything done. I kind of let myself down, but at the same time, I'm super stoked with how that underliner or Raptor liner came out on those timing covers. I might have to start doing that to the full thing. I don't know. I need some scheme ideas, but thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys liked the video. And if you did, stay tuned for the next one, and we'll catch you guys then. I don't got much of an outro anymore. Peace.